Hey everyone, welcome to week 2 of Pepsi SWAC Game Day. I'm Tolly Carr in Atlanta. We had a big week 1. We're going to revisit that in just a minute, and we're going to look forward to week 2, and we're going to have some company once again. Our ace SWAC correspondent, Charles Bishop, is going to join us. But before we dive into this big football meat sandwich, let's give a big thank you to all of our sponsors who make Pepsi SWAC Game Day possible just for you at home. Pepsi, official partner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. GM, proud sponsor of the SWAC. Home Depot, proud sponsor of the SWAC. Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods and outdoor retailer of the SWAC. And Nike. All right, here's what we're going to do. We got highlights off top. Let's start our way and work backwards from Sunday, because we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a full palette. So we'll kick things off the OBC in Miami Gardens. We got a couple of Labor Day classics to get to. The highlights right now. Jackson State versus FAMU, Orange Blossom Classic. FAMU from the start. Marcus Riley, a 96-yard kickoff return, has FAMU up 7 midway through the quarter. Trevonte Davis catches a nice 18-yarder from Jeremy Musa. That puts FAMU up 14-0. Later on in the quarter, Musa with the short pass to Jamara Sherrod. FAMU up 21-0. That was the game. Rattlers rolled 28-10. Bethune-Cookman was in the mix against Memphis, only trailing 10-7 in the first quarter after Amari Jones returns an interception 69 yards to make it a 3-point game. But after that, Memphis opens up the floodgates. They go on to win it 56-14. Prairie View A&M, Texas Southern battle it out. Labor Day Classic. Prairie View with 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Texas Southern responds, 2 touchdowns in the next quarter. Despite being down 17 points in the third quarter, it was Prairie View A&M slowly winding their way back into this one. They win it on a field goal in overtime, 37-34. Alabama A&M on the road. SEC at Vanderbilt. Bulldogs put together 2 nice drives in this game. A 71-yard drive to start things off, taking a 3-0 lead. And later in the third quarter, a 2-play 73-yard drive. That tightens the score up a bit. Vandy only up 19-10 at that point, but after that, it was all Commodores. They go on to win it 47-13. Alcorn State at Southern Miss, trailing 17-0 10 minutes into the game before Tyler Macon has the Braves on the board with a 75-yard run. But Alcorn State trailed 27-7 at the break. Alcorn would find themselves down by 30 in the second half before Nico Duffy scores the final ASU touchdown of the game. Southern Miss rolls 40-14. Central State versus Mississippi Valley State. This game in Chicago. The new-look Delta Devils were close in this one, but it was a big upset by the SIAC opponent Central State. The Marauders squeaked by with a 24-21 win over Valley. Southern Alabama State. Jaguars strike first. Harold Blood finds Kendrick Rhymes to complete a 77-yard drive in the first quarter. Alabama State ties it back up when Demetrius Davis finds Keyshawn Johnson, 7-all at the break. The deciding score comes in the third quarter. Davis to Johnson again, and Alabama State seals it with a big interception late in the fourth quarter for the win. Grambling versus Hampton. Pirates scored 2 touchdowns in the second quarter for a 21-9 lead at halftime. Grambling trims the lead to 3 in the fourth quarter when Miles Crawley connects with Lyndon Rash for a 36-yard score, 28-25 Hampton. But the Pirates would answer with another touchdown with 3 to go to make it a 2-possession game. Grambling would add one more run by Chance Williams for a score. That trims the lead down to 4, but Hampton escapes with the win. Arkansas Pine Bluff came ready to fight against Tulsa, actually scoring first, but Tulsa would not have any of it after that. 6 unanswered touchdowns, and we reached the final score of 42-7. All right, let's run down all those scores for you one more time here, putting a button on week 1. All right, so last Thursday, Tulsa big over UAPB 42-7. We had Central State with the win over Mississippi Valley State. Hampton squeezes by Grambling. Alabama State over Southern, 14-10 in the Labor Day Classic. Alabama A&M, they were in it, but eventually lose to Vanderbilt. Southern Miss with a solid win over Alcorn State. Memphis all over Bethune-Cookman. The thriller of the weekend, Prairie View over Texas Southern, 37-34. And on Sunday, once again, FAMU with a little get back against Jackson State, 28-10. All right, let's bring our man into the conversation, Charles Bishop. Charles, always good to see you. Always great to talk football. Let's start with the Labor Day Classic out in Texas because you were there. Texas Southern, Prairie View A&M on last weekend's Pepsi SWAC game day. You talked about, hey, one of the things I'm going to be looking at is going to be that western side of things, and how's it going to shake out? This was a major game out west. What were your thoughts? Front row seat to the Labor Day Classic.
This game absolutely did not disappoint when you talk about both teams going back and forth in this game. But Trayvon Connolly, he steps up big, especially in the second half of this game. Overall, he goes 20 of 33 passes, 275 yards. But it was his steady presence in the late going of this game, late third quarter going into the fourth quarter, where Prairie View was able to erase a 34-17 deficit, send this game into overtime, and Prairie View was able to kick the field goal to win this ball game.
What was that feeling like, man? It was almost like a slow. It was like that tire on your bicycle that just slowly loses air, and you're doing wheelies at one point, and then you look down and you just got a donut down there.
Yeah, it was amazing. And when you talk about a momentum switch, that's what it was, and it was a slow, grinding momentum switch to the Prairie View sideline, and you could see it coming. Prairie View does a great job scoring right before the end of the third quarter, and they were able to get some defensive stops. Huge turnover in the fourth quarter that swung even more momentum to Prairie View, and they were able to go down to their last possession, get a touchdown, tie the game up, send it into overtime. But the calming, steady presence of Trayvon Connolly, this week named SWAC Offensive Player of the Week, it was a huge win to get Prairie View off on the right foot in SWAC West.
All right, so Texas Southern fans out there watching, should they be concerned? I mean, what was your takeaway on the long-term prognosis for the rest of the Texas Southern season based on what you saw? And we got to leverage that against the expectations that coming into that.
Yeah, this is a really good Texas Southern football team. When you stop and take a look at some of the playmakers that they have, one name that jumps out is a guy named Quay Davis. He's a transfer from Jackson State. He had a huge game in this opening game, 9 receptions for 107 yards. He also had Jaron Johnson, 6 receptions for 67 yards. And then on the defensive side of the ball, 3 guys with double-digit tackles, Isaiah Bogarty, Jacob Williams, and Canary Simmons. This is a team that has some playmakers. They're going to make some noise out in the SWAC West.
All right, let's talk about the SWAC East, Charles. Another Labor Day Classic. You know, we get 2 every year. Alabama State against Southern. It doesn't count in conference standings, but still, look, these are 2 SWAC teams. The win by Alabama State, does that kind of lay a stake in the claim that, hey, I know everybody was talking FAMU, Jackson State is theirs to lose, but a strong win by Alabama State over the weekend?
Very impressive opening win for Alabama State. And one thing that everybody has looked at with regards to this Alabama State is that defense. They did not disappoint. Colton Bubba Adams, he was the SWAC Defensive Player of the Week this past week, 12 tackles in that game. But it was this Alabama State defense doing a tremendous job of stopping the Southern ground game. They did an awesome job. Southern only 69 yards on the ground in this game. Like I said, that's a tremendous opening week statement by that Alabama State defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they got some pieces. A young man by the name of Keyshawn Johnson, 9 receptions in this game, huge 43-yard pitch and catch in this contest. And he was able to really leverage the momentum of that, and the defense was able to take it the rest of the way.
Listen to Chuck, man. He was at one Labor Day Classic, and he brings it to you like he was at both of them. All right, Chuck, I know you were in front of a TV somewhere on Sunday, the Orange Blossom Classic. It was FAMU. Man, they had 2 years of get back, at least from the fans' perspective. I know the coaches and the players, you know, we know how they approach the game. But a lot of FAMU fans really wanted this victory over Jackson State. And they got it. What does that say to you about FAMU, and what does that say to you about Jackson State moving forward?
tremendously impressive win by FAMU, and they set the tone. When you talk about Marcus Riley, and Coach Willie Simmons has talked about he's one of the fastest players he believes in this league. He sets the tone with a 96-yard kickoff return, and I tell you what, FAMU was off and racing from there. Tremendously impressive, especially looking at the way they control both offensive and defensive sides of the ball. We talked about Jackson State in week 0, how they were able to control the line of scrimmage against South Carolina State. Well, the roles were reversed against Jackson State in this game. The defensive line really got after Jason Brown pretty well in this game. And then on the offensive side of the ball, one of, I think, the missing elements that a lot of people has looked at with regards to this FAMU offense was the rushing attack. They had 207 yards running the ball in this game. Huge game when you talk about Jaquez Yant, Terrell Jennings. They both went for average 6.8 yards per carry. But this is what you look for from this FAMU football team. If they get the rushing game up and going, this is a very dangerous team, and they already have a leg up in the SWAC East.
All right, Chuck, let's take a look at the standings now. We talked about how teams fared, and it's early on. It's early. It's very early, but they keep records for a reason. Out east, FAMU with the early lead, 1-0 in conference play, 1-0 overall. Alabama State, we talked about their victory there. You got Mississippi Valley State, Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State with their records there. Although, look, the conference record gets a little squirrely early on when you're out of conference, but Jackson State 500 overall there. All right, SWAC West breaks down like this. You got Prairie View A&M, and then Alcorn State, Southern, Grambling, Pine Bluff, and Texas Southern. Again, it's still early, but they keep records for a reason. All right, Chuck, let's get into this week 2 schedule, our third week of college football when you look at week 0. All right, here's how it breaks down this week. Saturday is Texas Southern versus Toledo, Savannah State versus Bethune-Cookman. Miles will be making the trip to Alabama State. Don't overlook Miles fans. They have played Alabama State tough. That's an in-state rivalry there in Alabama. Don't let the D2 thing fool you. That's going to be a tough matchup. Alcorn State and Stephen F. Austin on the back end of their home series. Lane, they're going to travel to Alabama A&M, and Prairie View A&M will welcome Abilene Christian. So, Chuck, we got a big non-conference schedule this weekend, but I know a lot of Alcorn State fans are hoping they can get back into the running this year. It would be good if they could split their opening 2 rounds. Stephen F. Austin, that was a close game last year. To get a win this weekend for Alcorn State, that would be really big for the Braves.
Yeah, that would be huge for the Braves, and we'll see if the Braves can offensively get on track this week against Stephen F. Austin, and looking for a guy like Jarvin Howard to really get off in this game. He is one of the tougher backs to bring down in the SWAC, but they got to get consistent quarterback play against Stephen F. Austin. That's going to be huge in this game.
All right, let's hear from the coaches now. We're going to hear how they assessed a lot of their quarterbacks out there in week 1 and their matchups moving into week 2.
It's just consistency with Xavier Langford. If he's consistent, like I said, we run a 20-play drive. The first drive, man, we went right down the field on the SEC program. And we come punching in for the touchdown, but we got a field goal. It's because Xavier uses legs on about 2 or 3 of those plays, and then he uses arm on other ones. And when he plays like that, he plays lights out. I mean, but that's what we get from it. We can get an all-conference quarterback, and then we can come back and get like, what was that, X? What was you doing? I mean, so we just got to get him to be more consistent. If he plays consistent, we have a chance to win every game that we play.
A lot of these kids, they played against each other in high school. A lot of those kids from Miles are local kids, Birmingham area, some from the Montgomery area. They had one of their starting guys in their secondary who started for us the last 2 years. So it's a lot of similarities. I know Sam Shade from playing against him in the NFL. His mom went to Alabama State. So it's really a true rivalry. I think it's really getting to that point, and they're playing as nip and tuck. So I think it's one of those things where they feel like they play us enough times, they're going to beat us. So we have to really, rise to that occasion. They bring their band down. They have a great band. Our band is pretty good also. Love what we do with the Mighty Marching Hornets. So it's going to be a good competition. And so I think it'll be another really good HBCU weekend.
The upcoming team is Stephen F. Austin. We've got to go to Nacogdoches, Texas, and play those guys. A real good football program. Got some good skilled guys on the outside that's going to play. Quarterback going to get in the ball in open space. So we just got to be able to contain that. They got a real good defense. A little bit better with us than it was last year. Got a good up front guys that's gonna play hard. Linebackers gonna play tough. So we just got to be prepared to play a good program. We played them last year, had them up at halftime, and they come back and beat us in the fourth quarter there. So it's a real good football program.
We saw some things from some of our players, that in big time situations, they stepped up. And I always say, those lights are strange things to people. And some of our guys that we thought had a really good spring and summer stepped it up, like Amari Jones on defense. We had Lee Brown on defense as a freshman. So we had several guys that we saw first year that stepped up.
Exciting time for our football team. First time in a few years that we've been able to start the season off with the win. And obviously being a conference win, a divisional win was really, really huge. I thought the guys locked in all through our training camp. I thought they understood what was at stake. I thought their mindset going down to Miami was very, very mature. And that's what you expect from a group that has 24 graduates and a bunch of seniors.
We talk about SEC and the SWAC. At the end of the day, all these guys are football players, and obviously LSU carries a big name, but so does Grambling. So it's a chance for two programs that have obviously done extremely well in the past and just not here recently. LSU won a national championship, that they get a chance to compete and show exactly where they are. And believe me, everybody will be watching because everybody want to see where is Grambling at right now and where is LSU at right now. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us. And obviously LSU's, coming off a loss. So I'm sure they want to get in the win column as fast as they can as well.
So the first three possessions, we had takeaways. And obviously I don't say this in a bad way, but we had an opportunity to be up at least 13-0. Could have been 21-0 because we were moving the football. And that's the frustrating part of it. And as I told our players, obviously they end up winning the game by a large margin. Second half, we let the game. Second quarter really kind of got away with us. We were in the game down 10-7, I think, and we gave up a deep ball in cover 3. And that kind of just took the steam off of it. But overall, our kids played hard.
I told the team this. I said, with our defense, we're going to always have a chance to win a game because they're going to keep us in the game. And our quarterback are going to be the ones that's, going to have to bring this thing home for us. So defensively, we're very excited with how hard the guys played. But again, just some small fundamental breakdowns that we had that kind of cost us.
The kids, saw that we was down 17 points, and shoot, they stayed together, started making plays, started having correct reads, offensively, and Trezon not rushing things like he was doing the very first half of the first part of the first half. He kind of, once we got him over there, settled him down, then he started making little plays, and that's who he is. Once you settle him down, and he's a playmaker, and that's what took us into that victory.
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be a very, very exciting, electrifying weekend. You're talking about two of the top HBCUs coming right here on the Bluff. Couldn't ask for a better atmosphere right there. You know it's going to be a sold-out crowd. People are going to be standing around. They're going to have tailgates. That's what HBCUs is all about. So that's what you want to see. That's why you tell young men to come to your university to see games of this nature right here. So, it's exciting, but at the end of the day, we got to be able to play 60 minutes of football because it is a contest that's going to be very, very challenging.
There's an opportunity for our team to get better. Anytime you get a chance to play, you want to improve upon the previous week. Although we're playing against a really tough opponent who just went into the Big Ten and almost beat an Illinois team. They're the returning MAC champion. So it's a tall task for us, but we're looking forward to it and looking forward to going up to Toledo and representing the SWAC well.
Well, if you watch that game and you looked at our first week, the tempo was we didn't play with any tempo. I talked to our offensive staff about it. We got to get back to playing fast. We didn't really have any tempo out there with our offensive unit, O-line, quarterback, receivers, running backs, and just the physicality. I feel like Fam came across and hit us in the mouth, and we didn't respond. We didn't respond. But anytime a team jumps out on you like that, you can't turn the football over. We had 2 turnovers. Jason just drops the ball on one.
Irv had one where he put on the ground that hurt us towards the end when we were trying to fight to get back in the football game. And we got to continue to work on these red zone scoring opportunities.
All right, Chuck, we've heard from the coaches. We've seen the highlights. We've taken a look at the schedule as we head into week 2 this weekend. Again, what are some of your thoughts, man? What are you going to be looking forward to the most on the slate of games come Saturday?
Well, I think the big one is down in Baton Rouge, Saturday night in Baton Rouge. What could be bigger? But we'll see, can this Jackson State football team, can they bounce back from their first SWAC loss in 2 years? And then you have a rivalry game with regards to Southern. That game will be packed. I'm sure the Jackson State fan base and Moss will be down in Baton Rouge. Looking forward to this game. So we'll see. Will it be Jason Brown or Zion McDonald at the helm for Jackson State? And we'll see, can this Jackson State defense get some stops against what looks to be a pretty decent Southern offense. I think they really shot themselves in the foot in that Alabama State game with the turnovers. Alabama State was +4 in the turnovers. If they clean this up, it should be a really good ball game.
All right, he's our SWAC correspondent from Houston. He's Charles Bishop. We call him Chuck because we love him so much. Chuck, I saw earlier before we went on the air, you were drinking from one of your coffee mugs, man. It had a really cool saying on it. Is the coffee mug still close by? I'd love for the fans to get a kick out of how you enjoy your Java.
Exactly. Yes, indeed. Nothing like retirement, buddy.
Hey, that's why he's available now to talk to us every week. You put in your service, Chuck. We appreciate your time there, man, and we definitely appreciate your time here every week on Pepsi SWAC Game Day. Enjoy a little golf before you get out there to the games on Saturday. We'll talk to you later, Charles.
Will do, Tolly. Appreciate it.
And finally, our players of the week in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Charles kind of hinted to a couple of these guys earlier, but we'll run through it here. Prairie View A&M's Trayvon Conley, Alabama State's Colton Adams, and FAMU's Marcus Riley, the SWAC football players of the week. Conley, your offensive player of the week. He had 275 yards on 20 of 33 passing, 2 touchdowns, 35 rushing yards in that big overtime win over Texas Southern. On defense, hey, we call him Bubba. Bubba Adams, 12 tackles, 4 solo tackles, and 1 sack in Alabama State's 14-10 Labor Day Classic win over Southern. He notched double-figure tackles for the 3rd straight game, dating back to the final 2 games of 2022. All right, our newcomer of the week, specialist/newcomer, Riley. He started the game for the Rattlers by returning the opening kickoff. You saw it on ESPN, 96 yards for a touchdown. He finished with 120 return yards on 2 returns and a touchdown. All right, that's it for this week's edition of Pepsi SWAC Game Day. I'm Tolly Carr from Atlanta. On behalf of our guy, Chuck, we will see you guys later. Enjoy that SWAC action this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.